Okay. If you didn't think the 8 cowardice chicken shit Democrats that folded at the instruction of Chuckles were bad enough, of course, they got dicked over a million times worse than you think. And a headline is coming out from Politico right now that Thune secures a provision in government funding bill letting senators sue for phone records seizure. The new legislative language is an escalation of the GOP's efforts to discredit former special counsel Jack Smith. Okay. This is an attack on the rule of law. This is an attack on transparency. And if they sue and get awards, taxpayers are going to pay for these Republicans who colluded with a convicted felon. And for all of these guys, they're all fiscal conservatives pumps. That's the hill they die on. Country club Republicans will die on the hill that we will demonize and browbeat poor people as long as it doesn't hurt my pocketbook. If that's the game I have to play and I pay less taxes, I'll play it. Here's the problem. When you erode the judiciary, you have no place to take your contracts to be enforced. The economy goes the way of Russia. Inflation out the wazoo. You do not have a stable economic system. These people, as usual, are playing a very short-term game, and it's unbelievable the brazen corruption from the senator, the leader of the Republican Senate, the leader of the Senate. And then, of course, in this article, guess who's right at the heart of it? Ted fucking Cruz is right in the middle of it. These guys are so hypocritical. They're so cowardice. They cannot play by the rules. They are cheaters. They are liars. They are grifters, and they are tearing this country down, all in the name of Jesus, because of course they have to ruin their religion too.
Right. Nothing's off limit when it comes to destroying. But Trump, remember, is filing a lawsuit for $230 million for his pitiful pain and suffering because he's a fucking criminal. And his ass would be in jail right now if Merrick Garland and Joe Biden had had enough balls to put him away. But this doesn't shock me at all. These people are corrupt, and it starts at the top. Trump is the most corrupt. So everything else, it's like, well, I mean, Trump did it, so I can get away with it. That's how they can sell it to the American people. It's gross. And again, like you said, we, the American citizen taxpayer, is going to pay this, not the billionaire corporations, because they don't pay taxes. It's gross. It's totally gross.
And the cascading effect each time you give a blow to the judiciary is an attack on, of course, humanity and all of these things, but MAGA doesn't care about that. You guys, they care about money. They care about their business. This is a direct attack on commerce, period. They are so short-sighted, and the Supreme Court has been so short-sighted in this, they will all wreck the one thing that they covet more than anything on the planet, which is money. And they're all doing it for this guy right here. Here's Kanks yesterday at the Veterans Day ceremony. He's a delusional, frail, sociopathic, dementia-ridden liar. Play the clip.
We have a 92% approval rating. We took that up from 38%.
Okay, sure, Grandma. Sure, sis. I'm sure you did.
How?
What is this guy? Did they put a Ouija board in front of him and they've got, Laura Loomer under there guiding it? I mean, this is just so unbelievable. Here's the thing. I get that this guy is a nut. I get that this guy has the most fragile ego of our lifetime. I get that he's, frail as all get out and they have to prop him up. It is just not believable to me that 37% of the population, that's what his approval rating is, can watch that shit and believe that. Is 37% of the American population that dumb pumps? Are they? Is that, we just need to come to terms with that?
Yeah, I do, because they're in a cult and they believe this guy. I mean, what is it we always talk about? He is the weak man's idea of a strong man, and he is pathetic. He is pitiful. I can't even get into how bad he looks with the paleness and the hair blowing. But I watched this whole thing and I just thought, how is he the president? He is pitiful in every way. Like, seriously, if that were my grandfather, I would be uncomfortable just listening to him talk. And they're just like, fucking let's go. He rocks. 92%.
Right. And then the go back to the Senate Majority Leader, Senator Thune. This guy probably goes to church, considers himself a patriot, loves America, loves the Constitution, right? We've known Republicans like this all the time because the system's kind of been built for them. They're underneath the surface, they're kind of pieces of shit, but they're pretty good at covering it up. To completely debase yourself for that, for a guy who just stands up there and brazenly lies of something that is objectively false. I mean, completely 1,000,000% false. And I seriously even doubt if 92% of the people that work at the White House approve of him. You know, I mean, it's just so brazen. Okay, moving along. You know, he's been talking a lot about death. All right. So this started a few months ago, around the time that he started taking the animal identification tests, and the cankles were photographed, and they continue to be photographed, and the bruising on the hands and the rambling and the dementia becoming more and more noticeable, which corporate news is AWOL in covering all of this, right? So he starts talking about death, and he starts talking about heaven and all of these rambling sundowner bullshit that he does. Here he is in front of all these veterans, pumps. And here is what he's saying about death. Play the clip.
God, he said, we ask only this, that if we die, we must die, and we as men would die without complaining, without pleading, and safe in the feeling that we have done our best for what we believed was right. We must do what is right. Colonel Wolverton, too, died for us so bravely in battle. Today we're...
Okay. I've heard enough. Okay.
It's parody can't cover it.
What is he talking about?
I don't know.
And this guy and this toxic masculinity that they try to promote, right? When you have two of the representatives of the toxic masculinity squad, let's just review. We have little Moses Mike Grinder Johnson.
Right.
And then we also have Stephen Miller. Right. And I just saw this guy that owns Palantir. Did you see this? This guy talked. Yeah. I mean, just a beta beyond zeta.
Yes.
Get up, talking about having high tea, clearly lying through his teeth. So here's what we have. We have toxic masculinity that trickles down, that makes all these other men completely become worse human beings for the most unmasculine, frail man that in their eye, in their lens, something very feminine and unmasculine you could do as a man would be to wake up every day and wear a full face of makeup. And this party is on the record of being terrified of drag queens and wanting to, ban books, ban drag shows, all of these things. And that's their leader. Like, that's who they have decided that I'm going to become a worse person for. At least some of these cults, Pumps and I used to watch all these cult documentaries. A lot of the cult leaders were like attractive and they had good bullshit and they were
charismatic.
Like, totally. This guy, that's the guy you're going to lose your whole life for. We cannot stop and say that enough.
Right.
So let me just move along here. Where Pumps and I grew up, you guys, people do not joke around about heaven. Like, it is a very serious discussion. Okay. It's not something you say, I might go, I might not go. White evangelical Christians really, really, really work very hard to get into heaven. And they work very hard trying to recruit everybody to go into heaven too. Now, I would say the recruiting is to grift so their mega churches can grow, because that's a huge religious industrial complex, but that's another episode. Here he is in the belly of the beast talking to Laura Ingraham about if he will get into heaven. First and foremost, I want you to notice the flight of ideas and then dementia with it. But secondly, just how flippant he is about this subject. And I can tell you the evangelicals that support him are a lot more serious about this subject than he is. Play the clip.
In October, you were asked about ending wars, and you talked about that, and you said, I don't think there's anything that's going to get me into heaven. I think I'm not maybe heaven bound. A lot of Christians were sort of sad to hear that, because Christ came to forgive our sins, if you believe that as Christians, and they open heaven to all of us. So don't you believe that?
So the other day, the New York Times did a story and took that statement totally literally. When I made that statement, I was being funny, sarcastic. You know, it's bad for a politician to be sarcastic. I said, I'm never going to make it to heaven. A big audience. I don't think I can make it. I don't think I qualify, you know, etc. I was kidding. I was having fun. I don't know if I will or not. I don't know. But the Times did a story, a little guy named Peter Baker, who is the sycophant to Obama. You know, he wrote the Obama book, like Obama was a good president. He was one of the worst. Biden was the worst. Obama was top 3 or 4. But think of this. I make this statement, and the Times has a front pager. Donald Trump is now questioning his life and his this and his that. I said to a group of people, a large group, I said, I don't know if I'm going to make it. I'm not so sure, but I'm going to fight to make, you know, et cetera, et cetera. I was having fun, and they made it like serious. The thing I thought I learned, but I forgot about it, I guess, when I made this little, is you can't be sarcastic as a politician or have fun. But I don't regret it. I don't regret it.
Okay.
He's so much fun.
Okay, that made no sense. Everything that he just said made absolutely zero sense. And the fact that he says he forgot that you can't be sarcastic, that is the defense that all of these fiscal conservatives, family value conservatives, Moses Mike Grinder Johnson rolls out all the time. Oh, the president's just having fun. He's just joking. This is something that I was kind of shocked at how direct Laura Ingraham, I mean, for a Fox News interview, that was kind of a hard-hitting question, because for those of you that didn't grow up in the Bible Belt, it is something that they are so serious about. As an atheist, I cannot tell you how many times people are fixated on me, top of the prayer warrior list. We just don't want you to go to hell, Jennifer. And I mean, they're serious about it. Pumps, can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing evangelical Christians are more serious about than heaven is hell. And for him to sit there and talk about that, I mean, I'm sure that my mother, I mean, she probably, her ass got so tight because she just couldn't defend it, because you just don't do that. It's serious business. We're not
him to be
jokes about heaven.
Right. That's the thing. Like, your mother's one of the most religious people we know.
Yeah.
And that would be something very, very offensive, but should vote for him the 4th time.
Right. Even though he likes porn stars and the whole nine.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Moving along.
Can I just say one little thing that caught me off guard? Every single thing in his mind, the only through line is that he always has to bad rap Obama and try to make himself better. Like, Barack Hussein Obama has a penthouse apartment as big as Trump says his Manhattan apartment is. Like, nothing makes sense, but it's always about Obama. Like, how the fuck? He is obsessed with him.
I think it's a classic case of penis envy. I really do. I think he is. I think a lot of the problems in this movement, I know that is, gossipy or whatever, but I just think a lot of the problems that we see with these MAGA men, with the giant trucks, with the giant flags, with the giant, this has been one of your hills that you'll die on forever. Right. And I think it's a classic case of penis envy. Okay, moving along. Pumps, this is so disturbing. Okay, put up the tweet and retweet, Kylie. So Mehdi Hassan tweets the following. He says, as most people know, I've spent many years following the details of Trump's controversies, scandals, corruption, and more, but even I had missed this story. Other politicians would have been destroyed by this single story, but not Trump. No one ever asks him about him. So Sunday Girl tweets the following. In January 2016, Trump held a televised veterans fundraiser that raised $2.8 million. The money was meant for veterans charities, but was instead directed by his campaign and used to promote his political campaign. And even a judge says that Trump must pay $2 million over misuse of foundation funds. So a lot of these people, if we go back to the, Senate majority leader. They fancy themselves patriots that support the troops, even though they never vote to fund the soldier. They always vote to fund the military industrial complex to enrich their buddies, but they never vote to fund the soldier. And this is exactly the disdain that MAGA has for veterans, for active military people, for people in the armed forces. Trump famously said, they're suckers and losers, and he didn't want disabled veterans photographed next to him because he thought it was a bad look.
Well, and you have to remember Steve Bannon, his asshole buddy, took that build the wall. He embezzled all that. Steve Bannon embezzled all that. It was supposed to go to trial. I'm sure Trump, the back channels. I mean, he's already, pardoned him on other things, but it's just, I think the corruption, I think if they were kind of on the fence, now Steve Bannon's been corrupt for always, but let's take John Thune. If maybe we can get away with it, and they see how Trump's other buddies get away with it, and they see how he pardons people, they're just like, fuck it. I'm going to do it. Like, why not?
Which goes to my theory that whether it's somebody in close proximity to the man or somebody like, all of our family members that have fallen prey to MAGA, once you cave to this man's moral rot, whether you're close to it or you're watching from home, you become a worse human being. And this is such a cancer in our society, from the federal government to the Supreme Court, to corporate news, to universities, to law firms, to industry titans, to your crazy ass uncle, to your Bible thumping mother, to your crazy ass cousin. They're worse. They're worse people for having looked over all of this moral rot. And that leaves me to how do we bring these people back? Or is this just a generational thing? Are they just generationally broken for apologizing, for defending, for accepting all of the horrific things that this man has done? And that's before we even get to that he allowed Elon Musk to oversee the dismantling of USAID, and already credible reporting, hundreds of thousands of the poorest and weakest and most marginalized people that are our global citizens are dead because of this endeavor. And I just don't know that there's a way back. I hope that there is. I hope that support groups can start. I've seen some online, because this is a horrific death cult that absolutely is dismissive of anybody unless you're a rich ass billionaire. And even then, you will go humiliate yourself in the Oval Office and make up some stupid trophy to go give to that frail, demented, makeup wearing wannabe drag queen, but he could never be fabulous enough to be one. And also the penis envy. All right, that's all we have for this episode. Buy our book, Life is a Lazy Susan of Shit Sandwich, Pumps Tells All. I do too. It's a great little read. And we'll be back later with more news.